Dzień dobry, bonjour, assalamu alaikum, ciao, konnichiwa, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Ken at 10. How are you today? If you haven't been here before, then thank you for coming. We are James Alexander Estate Agents. We broadcast daily from our offices in southwest London, southwest 16 to be precise. We're situated, if you're wondering where Norbury is, it's situated between Streatham and Croydon, roughly. Oh, well, not roughly, actually, exactly. So I hope you had a nice weekend. We talk about all things property here and just general stuff as well. So lots of bits of news really on the property front for you. And finally, this week's quote of the week is coming from David Bowie. You've got that to look forward to at the end of the broadcast. So how are you? Hope you've had a nice weekend. We had a really good one, actually. It's always the same thing, isn't it? You think, well, you know, you go over the park, you go for a walk, and it's like really weird because it feels like, I've always felt like it feels a little bit like it must be in Asia, you know, in China where they're all kind of queuing up to get to the park. It feels a little bit like that, doesn't it? You're kind of in the park and normally you'd be alone, but there's like loads of other people around as well, and you kind of try to get out of each other's way and out the way of the runners and everything else. But yeah, so I hope you had a good weekend. Apart from that, let's get through the news. One of the interesting articles I saw, I always like to pick up on, you know, what the journalists are saying. There's a lady called Jenny Code from the Sunday Times I thought was a little bit unkind to agents. What she was basically saying is that agents had offered to come around her house to discuss her property needs, and that really, like influencers who travel to Dubai for work, it's hardly justified as essential. And I understand where she's coming from there, but by the same token, most agents won't offer to come around to chat about your property needs. They'll do it over the phone, or they might do it via a Zoom style video link, which is much better. When it comes to physically valuing a property, we do Zoom style valuations, but you know, some people, they just want you to go around there and get a feel. And if you're socially distanced and you're really careful, that can happen. And as much as on the one hand, you know, she does say, well, look, you know, it's hard to justify as essential. We know, you know, it's hard to see why the property market is a special case. But then when you look at the numbers, stamp duty generated £11.6 billion for the UK economy in 2019-2020. And it employs roughly 500,000 people. Then on top of that, the contribution, and this is by her own article's admission, by the way, it contributes £9,599 per transaction to the economy, and we treat ourselves apparently on average to £4,000 worth of furniture when we move. So, you know, the reason for the justification, I suppose, is just that something's got to kickstart the economy somewhere, and the housing market does seem to be doing that since the stamp duty holiday was announced. So let's come on to that, the big one, stamp duty holiday. Couple of headlines on that. MP Bob Blackman says the stamp duty holiday rolled out amid the coronavirus crisis gave the economy a much needed shot in the arm. Well, yeah, that's certainly true. And he says there's a strong case for giving the economy a booster shot by making the temporary break a permanent fixture. Wouldn't that be great? Go, Bob, tell them. An article in the Sunday Telegraph, this is, he says, tell them the permanent cut would address a blockage in the system by making it easier for older people to move into suitable retirement accommodation, freeing up family homes and in turn homes for first-time buyers. Well, you know, we've got other views about the first-time buyer sector, but also on the same subject, the pressure seems to be mounting, which has got to be good news for the chance of a stamp duty extension or indeed its abolishment. But I don't suspect the latter, as I've said before, because it's such an easy tax for the government to collect. I can't see them writing it off somehow. Can you? Well, I hope they do. In a joint letter to Rishi, property firms and trade bodies have called for the stamp duty holiday to be extended to help older, vulnerable homeowners who cannot move during lockdown. Signatories, including the Chartered Institute of Housing, say a 6-month extension, it's an interesting one, isn't it? That would be good. Could boost downsizing and free up housing supply. This comes ahead of a parliamentary debate, and that's because of those signatures from the petition that you all know about, on calls for it to be pushed back. A Treasury spokesman said the time-limited nature of the stamp duty cut is what has encouraged people to take advantage of the scheme. Well, we've been saying that for some time, that if they're going to extend it, they're not going to tell you right now. So I don't think just because it hasn't been extended, it means that it won't be extended. I think that, you know, when you put a time limit on something, you actually increase the demand for it and you boost that situation. And so once you take away that pressure, of course, then the incentive to move goes away. So I think my gut feeling is, as you know, I'm an optimist. I know I'm always an optimist, but I do think it's likely that they will extend the stamp duty break. I'm not convinced they'll get rid of stamp duty, although I hope they will, of course. Article as well this week This one in the Times, nearly 40,000 property millionaires have been created in the past year. Apparently there are just over 500,000, 563,240 homes worth more than £1 million in Britain. And the number worth more than £1 million has grown since 2015. There's 39,629 new property millionaires created in 2020. Of that, just 6,667 were in the capital. And the interesting thing is where the new ones are. And we've been saying for some time, the pandemic has brought about a distribution of wealth in other areas. And the new places are Trafford, Edinburgh, Glamorgan, Newcastle, who knew? And the Cotswolds as well. And Lucian Cook, head of research at Savills, a guy that does deserve some attention because he's always seems to have sensible research backed up by good data. He says it's quite staggering how house price growth has created so many paper millionaires. No one would have seen it 25 years ago. I'm not sure. I think many parents would have seen it 25 years ago, actually. Property has been a source of wealth and financial security for a lucky generation who have collectively accumulated more than £1 trillion in wealth. The majority of property millionaires in 2020 are in the southeast of England. That's 13,972. And in London, 6,657. So that's interesting. Much of the growth being cities outside and the countryside, as we said. 73,950 people moved out of the London into the country. So, you know, pretty much echoing what we've been saying for some time, that people are moving out of London because they can now Zoom commute, and many jobs which they always thought they couldn't Zoom commute in the past, all of a sudden they're able to do so, and they're exercising that new freedom by moving to places that they wouldn't have considered before that are perhaps more beautiful than where they live right now. And why not? Why wouldn't you? Then we're now on to the unsellable flats, the housing scandal, the Grenfell scandal, really. Keir Starmer, as you may have heard, is demanding help for hostages in unsellable flats. And for me, this is pressure that's wanted and needed. And he's trying to force a vote calling the government to end the plight of the 700,000 people trapped in dangerous homes. After meeting victims, he'll table a motion blocking this proposals to solve the housing crisis. Basically, Robert Jenrick, the housing secretary, has set aside 1.6 billion to fix blocks more than 18 metres. There are dozens more people that are trapped in this. And I do think that it requires action. And it's underlined in the paper by Hayley Tillotson, very sad, young lady from Leeds who filed for bankruptcy after she lost £102,000 in a flat because of the extra costs of cladding. Absolutely disgraceful. My dream flat has ruined my life. It makes all the time I spent saving money in my early 20s seem totally pointless. The future looks bleak, she said. Gosh, poor woman. So, yeah, many more issues on that, no doubt. That's going to carry on running, that one. And we, yeah, absolutely 100% think something should be done to support these leaseholders. It's not their fault. They didn't build the flats. The builders did. Get them involved. Get the government involved. You know, there are plenty of people that should be helping these people. Least of all, the leaseholders should be funding this. And often we're finding that it is going to them and no one else. And also I saw an article this week in The Sun, which was about pet rental, saying landlords can no longer stop you from owning pets. You can it was more or less saying that tenants can force landlords to take pets. That's not really the whole story. First of all, the many flats, many leases require that there are no pets in the building. So if you're in a leasehold flat, it's quite possible that your lease actually forbids pets. So that's a situation where a landlord could actually justifiably say no to pets. And there are other situations as well. They could ask for a pet, you know, what the Sun says, you know, clearly haven't done their research, is that you could ask for a 5-week deposit. Well, instead of what? They're already asking for a 5-week deposit. No one's going to rent their property without a 5-week deposit at least. So the idea that suddenly you've got more deposit, how? I'm not sure how that works, journalists from The Sun. You certainly haven't thought that one through. But anyway, what we would suggest, if you do have a tenant and you have a property and they're asking about pets, perhaps they've got a dog, you can ask a pet premium. What this means is you can anticipate that the wear and tear on a house or a flat will be higher if somebody has a dog or a cat. And this is fair comment, I think. And you could ask a pet premium and say, look, we're charging a little bit more rent as we can't charge any more deposit because of the tenant fees ban. We have to add a little bit onto the rent so that when you come out of there, it's possible we might have to renew some flooring, do some cleaning, that sort of thing, which seems like a more sensible way around it, doesn't it? Finally, I said a quote of the week this week is going to come from the legendary David Bowie, R.I.P. He said, all cliches are true. Life is as short as they tell you it is. From the great man himself. So I hope you have a great day today and a great week. That's it for Ken at 10 today. We will be bringing a new podcast out as well, which is going to be everything that we do in the week actually gelled into one at the end of the week. Hope you like that idea. Let me know if you do. And thanks, London Chef. Nice to see you as usual. And yeah, hope you have a fantastic week. We'll be back live for you same time tomorrow with Ask JA Tuesday, an interesting one for you this week, and look forward to seeing you then. Until then, have a fantastic day. Stay safe and well.